Welcome to the channel, everyone. Well, I got the shop's a little full today. Got the 70 truck, just got it out, letting it run, charged up the battery a little bit, just kind of moving it around a little bit. Can't wait for the weather to get a little nicer, the roads to be cleaned up a little more, and then we can take this thing out and enjoy it. But Dad's 70 Camaro, I think the battery's junk on it. I keep charging it up, but it keeps failing. But anyway, guys, working on this Dana 44 from the 80 Chevy Silverado truck. Continuing on that, we got ball joints that got to come out of the knuckle. And last time on the disassembly, I showed you that pinion bearing was looser than I liked it to be. I think I'm just going to do a poor boy fix on that, and I'm going to pull the yoke off. I'm going to try to get an outer bearing in there, new seal, and cross my fingers. Hopefully that'll work for now. I can rebuild this axle, once it's in the truck, if I have to. So that shouldn't be a big deal if I got to do that. Seems to look okay, the gears, they're not that loose. So that's what I'm going to try to do to be able to get this truck on the road in a reasonable amount of time. I can't do everything. I'm going to have to pick and choose what I do, because if I get hung up on something and something takes me a long time to finish, I'm not going to get the truck done anytime soon. So I'm trying to get the truck done in a reasonable amount of time. Okay, so another issue that I had with this axle was the vent. I didn't know where the vent was until I started playing with it. And the vent hole is right here on these Dana 44s. There was no nipple on it though, which is what confused me. Must have broke off, or I don't know, something happened. But anyway, I took a 1/8" pipe tap, and you can see I tapped that hole, and it's probably, the threads are probably not the deepest, so I'm going to have to be careful here, but I'll use some sealant on these threads, and I believe that's a 3/8 hose barb fitting here, so I'll be able to run my hose up to the frame and then put a vent top on it so water and stuff don't get in there. But that's how I'm going to fix the no vent issue. Okay, so I'm getting ready to press the ball joints out of the knuckle. You can see I put my nuts back on the studs here, so when I'm fiddling around here I don't mess up the threads there. Removed the nuts from the ball joints. I got to remove the snap ring on that bottom joint. There is none on the top one. Just hammer and a screwdriver to loosen that snap ring up usually. Some blaster help loosen that up too. Once I see it moving here, I can get my little tool. Take it off. You're not going to get it off if you don't take that off. Okay, so I think I got the right adapter here. Using one of these ball joint presses here. Try to get everything lined up. I believe these ball joints were replaced. They almost look like nice Spicer ball joints. They actually are tight. This one here feels tight. That one there didn't felt like it was locked up. The other knuckle, I already did that. These joints are junk. They must have been, they got grease fittings, so they must have been like really cheap versions, replacements, because these things are just trashed. And I believe the factory joints never had any grease fittings, and both of these have grease fittings from the other knuckle. So I'm going to actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually heat this up around the joint. You don't have to do that. I mean, you can just brute force this out, but I feel like the heat just makes everything go easier. Easier on my tool, easier on everything. It's just easier, and it doesn't take very long. I don't know. I think the heat just really helps. Only thing is with the heat, you gotta watch out when you're handling it. Also, you got to make sure you don't wreck your, you got to watch out you don't scar up your ball joint surface when you're doing that. That top joint, you're going to have to disassemble the press here. You got to run your tool inside the other ball joint, and you're going to have this And again, I'm going to put some heat on this just because, like I said, it just feels like it makes it easier. Just a little bit of gas here for the torch. And like I said, just makes it so much easier, I feel. See, I feel like without the heat, I mean, that would have really fought. Okay, so now that I got the ball joints out of this thing, most people would press in new joints at this point, but I'm going to take this thing to the sandblaster and we're going to clean this up just because that's the way I am, and we're going to get this thing painted and then we'll put the new joints in. Okay, so here's my original knuckles that I had. I sandblasted these and then painted them the same machinery gray as I did the off-road design stuff. So they look, I'd say they look brand new. So now I just gotta be careful pressing the ball joints in. I'm sure I'm probably gonna nick them, but it don't really matter. These are actually tucked so far in, you can barely see them with the tires on. So anyway, just wanted to get them cleaned up, so it's something nice, just like I've done everything else. So I guess let's get these ball joints in here. Okay, so I got my new ball joints. We got 4 new ball joints here. We got a lower ball joint, greasable. These are not cheap ball joints. These are like $50 each ball joints, and you are not going to get plastic. There's going to be no plastic in these new ball joints like those cheaper ones. This has got the lower ball joint. It's greasable, unlike the factory ones. And it doesn't have you notice it doesn't have a castle nut or a cotter pin. It's got what they call like a locking nut. So when this goes on, it's got threads that are made to really grab and bite. It does come with a snap ring and then a grease fitting. Actually, it's got 2 grease fittings, I guess, depending on which one you want to use. Actually, that's a plug. Looks like there's a plug there to plug that when you're not greasing it, I guess. I don't know. Interesting. These also come with a tool to be able to install your boots. Once you're done installing them, you can use this to install the boots, which is kind of nice. Like I said, this is the bottom one. This is the top one. You know the top one is because it's got the big castle nut. It will not have a greaser on the bottom because there's not enough room with the axle going through there. There's a greaser on the side. It also comes with a boot installer. And if I can get this castle nut off, also comes with a new one of these. So we're not going to get to that install today. I'm just going to get them on on the spindles. Then you got your cotter pin and you got your grease fitting. Okay, so getting ready to press these ball joints in, and just like I always do, just gonna take some fine emery and I'm just gonna hit the edge. I don't gotta do much. You don't wanna make this bigger. You don't wanna go in there with sandpaper and sand that all out and make that hole bigger, because then you're gonna screw up yourself and then your ball joints won't press in there like they're supposed to. Now just cleaning it up. Any burrs, maybe I got a little bit of paint on the edge. I taped them off pretty good so I didn't get paint in there. So I don't really have to sand too much paint, but the edges I might have got a little on the edge, so that's what I'm doing here. Okay, one more thing you're gonna notice before I start pressing these in is I got tape on my studs, and that's just to protect them while I'm kind of fiddling around. If I do hit them on the bench, or I hit them on my tool or something, I won't mess up the threads and have to change one of those out. Okay, so I've been trying to figure out how I'm going to do this, trying to figure the right cups and everything. I think I've got it. These are greasable, so I got to get this top joint in first, and I'm trying to figure out where the grease cert would go. They don't have any instructions here, so I think I'm going to go. I'm going to put it towards the back, and I'm going to give myself enough room around the stop so I can get my grease gun, or get my grease gun in there. They had a grease blob there, and I pushed it down because there's no way that was gonna stay on there. Now this is gonna get real fun trying to hold all this stuff. Not sure I'm liking that setup. I feel like my threads are hitting the bottom of that ball joint. Okay, so it's taking me a little while to figure out what setup I want to go with this. I think I got it the way I want it. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but that's what I'm going with. Hopefully I got my grease cert on the right spot. I had to switch back to the vise, guys, because I wasn't happy with it just sitting on the bench there. I didn't have enough control, and I was hitting. I gotta fix that too, because the threads of the tool were hitting the bottom of that. So now I gotta fix that. I don't know. It just works better in the vise there, I found. I believe I got that top one pressed in all the way. It's hard to see with that lip, but hopefully you can. I don't know if you can see where I got that greaser or not. Right there. Hopefully I got a straight shot here. When you turn the wheel, I got a straight shot. I'm not in the stop isn't in the way. Yeah, hopefully that's where it needs to be. It is really difficult trying to do all this. This one here might be easier to do on the bench. I don't know. Definitely need 3 hands when you're doing this job. 3 hands. Looks good though. Should be able to get that snap ring on there. Haven't done too much damage to my paint. Get my snap ring here on. Hopefully my little cheap deal will get her on there, but there she be. So that's pretty much it, guys. Hopefully, like I said, my grease zerk's in the right spot. I gotta install the grease fittings. Gotta install the boots. I showed you these boot installers that came with the ball joints. So basically you just stick your boot on, you put the tool on there, and then you're just supposed to tap it. And there it is. I can see without that tool how that could be fun to install. Okay, so this bottom one is a little tricky. What I did on the other one was I actually stuck it in the ball joint press, and I used that to stick it in here and press that boot on, which I'm gonna have to do with this one too. You just can't get your hammer in here to hammer it. So I guess that's a wrap on this, guys. Got them in, actually got the grease certs in. These are a little hard to get into because you can barely get your wrench on there. And I do have a complaint. This nut here does not want to fit on the threads very good. I know this is a locking nut, but this one here fits really nice, and it screws all the way down until it hits that locking feature. This one here is tough to get on right off the bat. Looks like it's really crooked too when you spin it. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I test fitted this old one. The old one just screws on too easily. It won't lock on at all. So I don't know if I'll go see if I can get just a nut for that. But anyway, guys, that's it for this. These are ready to go on whenever I get the axle done. Okay, so I'm going to pull my yoke off here, and I'm just going to mark the top of the nut and then the top of the pinion here, so I know where they line up at. And then I'm going to count the threads. I got 1.5 threads showing right there, and I'll probably take a picture of it too. So when I put everything back, I'm going to try to get that exactly where it was before. So just putting a little mark. Kind of a line on there. Okay, so now I got my marks, I got a picture, I got an 1 1/8" socket. And hopefully I'm going to be able to hold this thing and get this nut off here. Sure didn't seem like that was very tight. I gotta try to get my seal off, and we'll see if we can't get that bearing out. Okay, I got my seal puller. I'm gonna try to get in there, not damage anything that I don't need to damage here. Okay, that was pretty easy there. Oh. What do we have here? We got something, looks like a shim or some sort of a washer right here. Might have to get my magnet out. Okay, so we got that deal right there. And then we got the bearing. Right here. So I think I'll go check out the bearing, clean it off, see how bad it is. And we'll go from there, I guess. Okay, so I'm gonna clean this race off. I can't really do anything about it. I can't install a new one. Not from this side. But I'll just take a look at it. There's some like washers in here. And I don't know if someone's been trying to tighten these bearings up or if that's supposed to be there. I don't know. I'll get a picture so you guys can see it. But yeah, that nut didn't seem very tight either. I don't know if someone did the seal here, maybe didn't tighten it up enough. I'm not sure. This is an old axle. Who knows how many owners? Who knows who's worked on it? It's really hard to tell. Okay, so I got my new pinion bearing. This is the outer pinion bearing, I believe. Actually got a bearing, the wrong bearing the first time. It was actually for a 10 bolt. This is the one for the Dana 44. Also got a new seal. This is a National. The one I pulled out was a National too. I'm guessing that was replaced at one time. But here's the new bearing. It's a Timken. And it does feel a lot tighter than the old bearing. The old bearings definitely feels a lot looser. So hopefully this is going to tighten up my pinion. But you can notice that it looks like they've cheapened up the bearings quite a bit. This just has an etching on it, whereas this is stamped, the original one, or the one that's the old Timken here. I don't know if it was original or not, but this is nicely stamped. Now, I'm not saying the bearing is cheaper. It's just they cheapened up the stamping of the number on it. And they also changed, this is made in the USA. And this is, you can see that or not, made in Mexico. Now, again, not saying it's a bad bearing because it's made in Mexico. Mexico can make good parts. China can make good parts. It's just the quality control, if they have that in place. I think most of your wheels, most of your aluminum wheels that are made for new vehicles are made in Mexico. But anyway, yeah, I've got all my parts cleaned up. So I'm actually gonna put this bearing in there. I'm gonna tighten it down to where it was before, and I'm gonna see if that tightens it up before I put my seal, because this seal wasn't cheap. This is a National. This is made in the USA, and that seal wasn't cheap. So I'm gonna see if if this tightens it up first. Then if it tightens it up, I'll take the yoke back off and I'll put the seal in, and then we'll keep going on the axle. Okay, so I got my new bearing here. Again, I got some Lucas assembly lube. I'm not going to put this in dry. Put a little bit on the race there. Put some in the bearing. Slide that down in there. So I got my yoke and I got this part that I pulled out. I thought it was like a washer, but actually what I think it is it just it keeps the oil on the bearing, I believe is what it does. My splines are not sliding on very good, so I'm just going to put a little bit of lube on it here. Again, I'm not putting my seal on because I'm just going to see if this will tighten up. Okay, so I got my washer, got my big nut, I got my marks, and I believe I had about 2 threads is what I had. So I got my 1 1/8" socket here. Oh. Okay, so I believe that's where I was about. With the threads. That looks, and it's way tighter. I can pull it. Seems like I can go out with it a little bit. Yeah, I just checked the rear axle. And I got a little more movement forward and back than I would like to feel. But the side-to-side movement that was there is gone. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run this like this, guys. It's not, because there's no side-to-side movement, I don't feel like it won't wreck the seal or anything. And I'm not going to use the four-wheel drive very much in this vehicle, probably. Not much at all. If I was going to off-road this thing all the time, I'd probably tear this apart and put all new bearings. But the 70, I have not even put the 70 in four-wheel drive yet. So I don't think I'm going to probably put this in four-wheel drive very much. But I think I'm just going to be happy with this until someday I go in here and I replace all the bearings in the differential. But this will get me by. Okay, so I got my seal ready to go in. Gonna put it in here. Found this piece of pipe. Actually, I think this is a drive shaft. I believe it's for a drive shaft. So hopefully I'm going to get this to go in. I believe that's it. I'm going to put a little bit of lube where the seal is going to ride. You probably should be replacing this nut as well. That would probably be a good idea. But I think we're going to be okay with that.